everybody. Welcome to Obscure Animation. This is the show where we talk about underrated, obscure, indie animated films. And this one, it's really more underrated than obscure. A lot of people know about it. It's from Disney, so you can't say it's that obscure. But nevertheless, I think it's a fun one to talk about around Halloween. And we're talking about James and the Giant Peach today from 1996. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford is here.
Hi, Rachel. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, doing great. This was such a fun movie to rewatch. It's been
Yeah.
forever since
Yeah,
I've seen it.
me too. I hadn't seen it in a long, long time. And, it's really interesting because uh, I didn't know that going to Animations Film this last weekend, I didn't know that Leica was going to be a sponsor of the show, of the festival. And so they had like the puppets and other things. And I know it's a different studio than James and the Giant Peach, but it's a similar aesthetic.
Right,
And
and it's the stop motion.
yeah.
They've got the puppets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really neat to get to see the puppets they had from all the the Leica movies. They had Coraline was there, the Box Troll was there. They had the one of the whole ships from Kubo, which was super cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, it was interesting because Leica didn't have a film there,
Yeah,
but they did the intro to every single movie. So it's like I saw the intro to Hugh Jackman talking about how great Leica was, I think 7 times.
yeah. Oh, okay, so excellent. Um,
Yeah,
like
but
now I thought at the when I went to the Academy Museum last month, I saw the actually, I think it was this month. No, it was last month.
uh-huh.
It's a blur. But anyway, it just recently opened. But they had, I believe, a Coraline puppet
Oh yeah, I wonder
in
if it
their
was the
stop
same
motion
one.
animation room. That's what I'm wondering, if it was the
Yeah.
same one. And it's interesting just to see the scale of them. Were they all of the ones on display kind of at a similar scale, kind of like a foot or 18 inches
Yeah,
tall?
pretty like 18 inches, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And except for obviously the ship was
Sure.
huge.
But
And
how
so that was cool.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I am always just amazed by stop motion.
Oh,
I
me
just
too.
love watching it. I think it's so incredible. The attention to detail that they use for stop motion is just such a fun thing to watch. Even if the movie itself isn't the best, I'm just watching, looking all around at all the little world building things that they've done and the way that they put it together.
Well, I'm amazed by the whole process too.
Hmm.
Speaking of museums, uh, I saw an Aardman animation exhibit at this museum. It was in Europe. It was in Germany. It was this cool motion picture museum over there, and Aardman had done this really amazing exhibit where they showed a lot of just their storyboards and stuff, but they also brought in like full sets of a couple, 2 or 3 Wallace and Gromit shorts, and I can't remember exactly what the shorts were, but I just loved, and one room in particular, they showed the different stages, so as far as lighting goes too, and whatnot, and it really opened my eyes again just to the amazing artwork, or the art form that is a stop motion animated film. Because not only, since it's all in 3 dimension, not only do they have to build a set, then they also they have to light it and do all this other stuff and keep that
Hmm.
consistent with as they're moving the puppet, frame to
Yeah,
frame.
it's so
It's
cool.
cool. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I had the chance to interview Nick Park for Rotoscopers, which was incredible.
Oh
He's
my
the creator
goodness.
of Wallace and Gromit,
Yep.
and so that was really cool. And to hear about the how do you say, the number of frames that they're able to do every
Oh
day.
my goodness.
My interview I did with Merlin Crossingham, who is the creative director of Wallace and Gromit. I got to interview both him and Nick Park for Rotoscopers. And I asked them, I said that each day, an individual animator would make about 3 seconds of animation a day,
Isn't
and
that amazing?
he says that's a
Yeah.
very good day. Uh,
Yeah.
I said, yes, it's a good day. Is it hard to keep the overall vision of a project when you're dealing with such minuscule amounts on a daily basis? And he says, yes, it is, but our crew is immensely good at what they do, and that's part of their process. The hardest thing is all the animators are individuals and they all interpret everything in a slightly different way. They don't necessarily animate the whole sequence. They will do bits and other people will do bits, and the best animators should be able to do any part of the film at any time. So keeping a consistency of performance is the hardest thing from the animator's point of view, but also the director's point of view. So that if I say to someone, make this moment very big, a person A might make it quite big. If I said to the same person, to person B, they might make it thermonuclear. It's curious when I said the same thing to both. So it's as much about getting to know the people and how you brief people and what you say to them. Just getting to know them as creative people and how they respond is as much a part of understanding the style than anything else. Well, hopefully, once we've sorted that out, the audience, the general viewing public, is blissfully ignorant of all of this. So, thought that was interesting.
Oh, it's yes, absolutely. No, thanks for sharing that because it just again it kind of blows my mind, to think about that, and I guess it's not necessarily unlike what hand drawn animation was back in the day, right? How many seconds were they able to pull together during a
Mm-hmm.
day? I don't know necessarily if CG, or 3D animation speeds that up because there's still so much that they have to do, even though they're using that the rigging and whatnot. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to
amazing.
know. It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, just
But yeah,
nothing but
this
respect for these artists.
yeah, so this was actually it wasn't like I said, it's in the I think it has the same aesthetic, but it was a studio called Skellington Productions. And they only made 3 films, 2 animated films, and one of them, of course, is Nightmare Before Christmas, and then the other is this film. And then they had a live action film called Cabin Boy, which I guess was a big bomb. So yeah, sadly, they never made anything else after this because this was a big financial disappointment, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, and is the director Henry Selick still he's still doing stuff, isn't he? I
Yeah,
mean, I know he was
one of my
involved with
friends
Leica, right?
Yeah, one of my friends was telling me that he has a movie coming out um that soon for next year called it's called Wendell and Wild
Okay.
coming out. Upcoming American stop motion animated dark fantasy comedy horror film uh with a script by Henry Selick and Jordan Keel and Keegan Michael
Oh
Kay.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So that should be really fun. And
Well, glad to know that he's still involved with the art
mhm.
form.
Me too. Because I feel bad for Henry Selick. I think no human being has made better films and gotten less credit for
Yeah.
those films than Henry Selick.
Right. With Tim Burton's name slapped all over
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And people
Even,
assume that it's his, that it's his movie, that he directed it.
yeah. Even just today, I put out we're covering James Giant Peach. What are your thoughts on this? And one of my friends responded, it's my favorite Tim Burton film for many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she says, then Coraline came and took its spot, and I said, neither of those were directed
Neither
by
of
Tim
those are Tim Burton. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, he's the producer on both, so but
Sure.
still, it's just I really do feel bad for the guy. I mean, he has made. I mean, is there a more iconic animated film than Nightmare Before Christmas? I mean, it is
It's
certainly
so popular and
up there.
so yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be if you're just talking about sheer influence and
Hmm.
popularity and iconography and all of that. It would
Yeah.
have to be in your in the top 20 most
Oh,
influential animated films
absolutely.
ever.
And as we often talk about on our Talking Disney uh podcast, but
Mhm.
you can't go to a Disney park. I mean, every store is loaded with Nightmare Before Christmas
Yeah, it,
product
like,
year
takes
round.
over yeah, yeah, it, like, takes
To
over Hot
mention,
Topic, like, the whole store.
right? Then not to mention when, they turn the Haunted Mansion at
Yeah,
Disneyland,
yeah,
from October to December, and with that Nightmare Before Christmas overlay. And anyway,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just something.
So, it's just it must be it's gotta be frustrating
Yeah.
to
I
have
hope he
your
had a good
legacy.
contract.
Yeah.
Good profit sharing
I
with
mean,
that.
yeah, I mean, it would still, like, even if yeah, hopefully he was well compensated, but even still, it would just be so frustrating to have your work, like, not
Yeah.
recognized as your work. That would suck.
Yeah, that would be bad. And people, yeah, everybody knows Tim Burton, and nobody really, I don't think,
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of yeah, they're
Like,
gonna
it's
know
so
him.
Nightmare Before Christmas, people always credit to Tim Burton, and yet he didn't direct it, he didn't write it, he didn't, like
Yeah, he
he
like did the sketches, right?
yeah,
He kind of did the character design, yeah,
he has a story credit,
and a
but not a
story
writing
credit.
credit,
Yeah,
and he says a producing credit, but he had his name Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas because it was the same reason they did with Jordan Peele presents Candyman. It was the same idea that even
hmm,
though he had little to do with it,
yeah,
it was just a marketing strategy to try to get people to because he was very popular at that time. And so then he made this. And he has this film from sorry, I lost my place. Then he has this film from 1996, and I I really enjoy it. I think it's maybe the best Roald Dahl adaptation outside of the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Or I guess it's yeah, Willy Wonka and the
Willy
Chocolate Factory.
Wonka.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
What's your? Well, go ahead. Sorry, no, I didn't
no
mean to
no
interrupt.
I think that Roald Dahl is very difficult to adapt. What about you?
I think he's a challenge to adapt to. It's been a long time since I've read this book, and I didn't reread it, before I watched the
Hmm.
film this round. Um, yeah, what's your experience with the book, and
Yeah,
how do you feel like the movie does it? I mean, you're talking about that,
yeah.
just that is a good adaptation. What
Well,
made it so?
I haven't read it for a long, long time either, but uh, I loved Roald Dahl growing up, and it's interesting because a couple of years ago I reread a bunch of his books, Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I can't remember Witches, I think maybe, and I had such a different response to them as an adult than I did as a child, which is fascinating. Because I was a pretty nervous. I didn't really like things that were too scary or whatever, but for some reason I really liked Roald Dahl. And as an adult reading them, I was like, wow, these movies. I mean, these books are really dark, like really dark. Like they're killing kids and they're beating. There's a lot of abuse and I mean, like,
Yeah.
um, I, one thing I realized reading, I was like, he obviously had some issues. I don't know if it was just like the nuns at his school or something, because almost all the female characters in his books are just beasts, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Few
Mm-hmm.
exceptions. There's Miss Honey. There's a few. But oh my gosh, like the ants and James and I Peach and
Oh, the
the
ants are
and
so
the
horrible.
Trunchbull and the there's
Yeah.
so many the witches. There's all these terrible women.
Interesting. Yeah.
And in George's Marvelous Medicine, his grandma is this beast of a woman and it's terrible. And I was thinking to myself, why did I like these so much? And I don't. It's not that I thought they were bad. I just remember thinking they were so funny and so creative, and particularly he has a little like biography kind of book called Boy. And at the time, I thought it was so funny. I thought it was hilarious. And then as an adult reading it, I'm like, it is just a bunch of lashings. It's just him getting caned all the time. this is aw- this is so traumatic.
Yeah.
But
You
I
know,
remember laughing a lot as, as a kid. So it's an interesting thing. I think maybe the reason why that kids like these books so much and they appeal despite all the abuse and the trauma
yeah.
is because the children are always the smartest people in the room.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. That it just seems like that's gotta be why I liked some of those books as a kid too. Because as you know, I don't like really scary stuff either. But I'm with you. I don't. There wasn't one that I didn't enjoy. I didn't read
Yeah.
all of them, but I read many, and I just and that's yeah. Maybe there was just something empowering about it as a child
Hmm.
to read that. You know that. Yeah, maybe some of these adults are kind of dumb, and we can figure this out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's why they are hard to translate to the big screen because there is meanness to them, but because it's all through the eyes of a child and the children are reading them, it works. And but I think when it's you actually see those images and see the children getting, forced to eat the cake, or within Matilda, or whatever is the
yes,
images, you see these traumatic images. It's harder, I think, to deal with, and so it's tricky. I think the probably the best adaptations. Again, you have Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you have the original Witches, and you have this. I think are the three best Roald Dahl adaptations. I don't know. Can you think of any other? I mean, Matilda is good, but boy, it is a. They are just so terrible to her.
yeah. I quite like the film version of Matilda.
Yeah.
I didn't love the stage musical version of it,
Uh
part,
huh.
but I thought the film version was pretty good. Although I just don't know if it was a perfect adaptation, but I found it to be
Uh
a
huh.
satisfying film.
Yeah, the I recently saw the musical for the first time of Matilda, and I liked it. I It takes a lot for me to not like a musical, but I did think that it was very bottom heavy. Like almost all the good songs were in the second act, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah. Oh, great.
yeah, and it was all for the villains. They were really fun.
Hmm. Yeah, the villains were on stage. I mean, they go for it.
Yeah, they do.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
but
and yeah.
but I didn't love if over on my channel I just recently did a video where I or I should say, over on this channel, I just recently did a video where I did a tier ranking of all of the musicals that I've recently watched. And I had Mild Clap was my tier, and that's where I had Matilda was in Mild Clap.
I like mild clap range.
Yeah.
That's a good.
But uh there is a Broadway musical of James and the Giant Peach. I saw it one time a long time ago in a really small theater here in Alpine, here in Utah. Um, and the music is actually by Pasek and Paul, who did,
Oh wow!
uh, yeah,
Who
it was
did
like one
Dear
of the
Evan
first
Hansen
things.
and The Greatest Showman? And
Mm-hmm.
well, that's a movie,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so if you like the story, you should check out that. It's different music than it's in this.
Yeah, because in this one it's Randy Newman.
Yeah.
And in fact, and he also wrote the score. And a lot of times I felt like I was watching Toy Story.
Right. I was going to ask you about that. I actually have that in my notes. I
Yeah.
said that all tracks written by Randy Newman, and I think that's why it has a Toy Story feel.
It has a totally Toy Story feel, which
Hmm.
I don't criticize at all. I mean, it only
Yeah.
came out the year before, in 95.
Right.
But uh but still that was yeah, kind of fun. And I thought Randy Newman actually was an interesting choice for writing the songs because this is so heavily British.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
not that it necessarily fell out of place, but I almost wondered if they had, worked with some kind of with a British composer, just because everything, all the actors as well as the initial setting,
Yeah, it does feel like to me that today they you would go with Desplat, Alexander Desplat,
yeah, yeah,
because he's done.
absolutely.
I mean, if you just think of, I think he did Isle Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox, I believe, for
Yep.
Tim. I mean, from, oh my gosh, my brain, Wes
For Wes
Anderson.
Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, and there's only 5 songs, so I don't even know if you would actually classify this as a musical.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, because they're not, and it's not. Yeah, the musical numbers are few and far between for sure.
mhm,
Uh, but still they're there,
mhm,
and as well as all the Randy Newman music.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it starts out in live action.
yeah. It starts and ends in live action, which
Mhm.
is an interesting artistic choice.
Yeah. And what did you think of Aunt Sponge and Aunt
Oh
Spiker?
well, they're as horrible as you'd expect them to be, from a Roald Dahl,
Uh-huh.
novel, and the actresses are so over the top, Joanna Lumley and
Yeah.
Miriam Margolyes. I mean, they're dare I say quite perfect for it,
Yeah.
uh, and I think that in a way that was smart to go live action, uh, because they could really amplify that. I mean, they could, of course, do it with puppets, but I thought that was actually pretty.
Uh-huh.
I guess enjoy,
Yeah.
entertaining. What did you
I
think?
think you need it in this because you need that sense of transformation when he enters the peach.
Yes,
I don't think
agree.
it would work if he was stop motion the whole time.
Hmm.
I think you need that. And so he ends up getting the the crocodile tongues from um the man, the magic man, and they get lost. And well, his also his parents were gobbled up
His
by a
parents are
rhino.
gobbled up by this rhino that comes racing out of the clouds, and talk about
Uh,
disturbing.
yeah, and Sponge and Spiker, they never saw that rhino coming, and the beast will get you too. This is pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, I think little kids might just be a little too
Hmm.
overwhelming for them.
Yeah,
At least the kind of the bookends of this with because the ants are so horrible. I guess it feels a little more comedic in the third act. When the ants show up again, but
yeah,
they're horrible. They're horrible.
they are really bad. I mean, they might be. I mean, it's hard to say what's worse because the witches want to actually like literally kill the
Yeah,
children,
right.
but but most of that you don't actually see, like them killing children, in the book or in the story. You just hear the tales of them killing children, but it's just pretty. They're pretty bad.
You
And
wouldn't put it past the ants to kill
yeah,
them
I mean, they get
because they
the
hate
only
them so
reason they
much.
don't is because they have a material advantage to not kill
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
And so that's just, yeah, they are really, really ghastly.
I loved the set or the sets that
Mhm.
were created particularly this, in the first act, this
Yeah.
in that very stylized hill where the house is, and where they discovered the tree, where they discovered the peach. um it works because they didn't go too realistic. It feels like you're reading a picture book, and I think in a lot
Mhm.
of ways, or looking at a picture book, which I compliment the art, the production designer and art director for. I thought that was I like that. What did you think about
Oh, I
the
agree.
look of it?
I would love to have been able to have gotten an art book of
Hmm.
James and the Giant Peach. Sadly,
Yeah.
that is not available. But I would have loved to have gotten it because I would love to know kind of how they and created the whole world that they did. I think it's really, really amazing.
Yeah, agreed.
Mhm. And so the first song that we get is "My Name Is James," and that's before they find the peach, and very sweet little song. And then that's when he's given the crocodile tongues, and they get spilled, and then you think, oh, they're wasted, but then they find the peach, and the peach keeps growing and growing and growing, and they want to use it as an attraction. And they're just so mean.
They're horrible.
He gets dressed up because he wants to play with the kids, and they're like, they wouldn't want to play with you.
No,
Like, oh, it's so mean.
they're so horrible to this cute little boy,
uh, uh, and so he decides to climb into the peach, and that's when he meets inside the peach. There's Mr. Grasshopper, there's Centipede, Ladybug, Spider, Earthworm, and Glowworm. And we have Grasshopper's voiced by Simon Callow, Centipede, Richard Dreyfuss, Ladybug, Jane Leaves, Spider, Susan Sarandon, and Earthworm, David Thewlis. So, would you say is and Mary Marjolie's also voices the Glowworm?
Yeah.
So, who would you say is the standout of this kind of
Oh,
crew?
I'm rather fond of Susan Sarandon's
Yeah.
performance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all very good, but I think as Spider, she's particularly good. Maybe just because I like her voice a
Mm-hmm.
lot too. Anyway, just when when she's acting.
Yeah.
Uh, but for me, and also I think too, I like the character design of
Yeah.
Spider too, because
Me too.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like when she says, "I do not know whether to kill you or to kiss you." It's
Yeah,
a good one.
exactly.
And so the first song is "That's the Life for Me" in the Peach, and then that's when they get the seagulls to protect them against the sharks.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
mechanical sharks
Uh-huh.
are mean.
Yeah.
To speaking of, and um, but again, a very very cool design, and I think a very effective use is the stop motion animation. I guess just as when I said the thing, Rachel, I really like how so the live action actor who also is the voice of James, he's climbing into the peach, and all you see is his silhouette, and they transform it into what his puppet looks like
Yeah,
for the stop motion, and it's an effective way to show, oh, we're transitioning into something different
I
now.
agree. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, very really really nicely done.
Hmm. And then you have they get the seagulls, and then you have them getting very hungry. And I like it when Centipede is dreaming of a turkey,
I
flying
do.
the roasted turkey, flying the.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who knew centipedes eat
Yeah,
turkey?
exactly.
Uh, and that's when James says, "Well, we have a peach we can eat right now. This- we're flying in something we can eat." So that's when we get the eating the peach. And I have to say, I did feel like getting a peach. It
I know.
looks so good.
They make it look so good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
I love a good that. I think that stone fruit in general, nectarines, peaches, plums,
Oh,
apricots,
delicious.
you have to get them from a store though. I mean, from the farm,
From the
not from a store,
farm.
because
Yes.
they're just terrible from the store. And so,
But wow, you go to a farmer's market or some
yeah,
kind of fruit stand
because they
somewhere in
taste
the
just
wow.
bland. It's like you want to spit it out,
They're
like
amazing.
from the
Other
store.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great from the farm. And there's just no, I don't know, there's no comparison. Like I feel like some fruit you can get pretty good from the store, like apples, oranges,
Sure.
bananas, things like that. But for some
Just say
reason,
these
any of those
stone
fruits,
fruits. Yeah.
they're-
And they, however they created, like Henry Selick and his team created that peach that they're eating.
yeah,
I mean, they make it look like the best peach
they're
you've ever
really
had, you
great.
know?
Yeah, it just you want to like bite into it. It looks so
Yeah,
good.
it's wonderful. However whatever they made that out of,
Yeah.
they delivered.
Yeah. And then he has a dream sequence, and this is very interesting. It kind of reminded me of something you would see on Nickelodeon or see on MTV, kind of in that era. Like it was made out of it was paper animation, and it looked kind of like a music video to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good analogy. And it almost was kind of even Monty Python-esque,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and again, an interesting choice, and I thought an interesting medium to use for this particular sequence.
Mhm. And so then we have they're getting really upset with the centipede. They're going to go after him, and then James says, "Don't go after him because he's my friend." So that was really sweet. And the just the friendship of the characters is really
Yeah,
yeah.
it's fun that the characters start to have some bonding.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when we get the "We're Family" song. And then James he confronts the rhino, and again they're talking about how like the child is always the strongest person in the room, and in this scene where he stands up to the rhino, I think that is where you really get kids on your side. You know
Mhm.
that this is a character I can relate to, and he's strong and stronger than all these terrible adults.
Right, uh, and I've wondered if, if that, and again, so sorry that it's just been so long since I've read the book, but I wonder if that's one of the themes that just really resonated with me too as a reader, is like the overcoming, you just realizing that, you can overcome this, you can overcome your fear.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and I think that's such an important thing to learn.
Hmm.
And this is such a, I think, such a poignant way of doing it.
Yeah. And then you have him climbing out of the peach, and then he's back in live action, but he's on top of the Empire State Building. And he asks, where am I? Where's the Empire State Building? You're on it, kid. You have to
Yeah, and they
stop
have a
there.
crane that pulls it down, pulls the
Yeah.
peach down. I mean, I love that, It's
Yeah.
just, it's also stylized and just,
Hmm.
completely unrealistic and just so fun,
Yeah.
yeah, just really whimsical. I like that a lot.
Me too. And then the ants show up. They have somehow driven their car across.
They've driven the car through the bottom of the ocean. They drew the transatlantic crossing, yeah, in their horrible car.
Yeah, that is really funny. And they claim that James has a chronic condition, that he's a chronic liar. And
And they want their peach back.
yes, they want their peach back. And that's pretty much the only reason they're there, is they
Yeah.
want it back so they can make money.
Is their moneymaker.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I like how they say that he's a dreamer. He's a dreamer, and he says it started that way as a dream, but doesn't everything? And then he says, "I'm not the one who's nothing. You are," and that is
Mhm.
very like, yes,
Yeah, empowering.
way to
It's great.
go.
It's so great, and they have it coming because they're so horrible.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, there's no question. um, and yeah, I think that I wrote down that moment of "I'm not the one who's nothing. You are" is the real appeal of Roald Dahl in all of his books. There's always that moment of victory,
Yeah.
and where the kid uh, is independent and strong. And I think that's what kids like about it so much.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I remember,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't remember the specifics, but I just, just the general,
Yeah.
general feeling about that.
And then we have there's all these headlines I thought were fun.
Oh,
But
that was a fun way
yeah,
to do it
oh,
because
yeah. The
all
half
the
pint hero and
yeah.
his peach pit pals.
And what's fun, I think about is that even though it's in live action, the characters, that we've met, the bugs that were in the peach, they continue to exist. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. When I liked that they were still large as well.
Yeah, and I was gonna say they still are at scale.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That was fun.
and even though James is back to live action, I thought that was great too.
Mhm. And then we get good news from Randy Newman. And to close off with him, we find out that James lives in the pit of the peach in a house his whole life in Central Park, telling his stories, and that he wanted to share his stories with everybody. And this is what you have just seen, which is very sweet.
Yeah, I love that too. I
Hmm.
love that peach pit house.
Yeah,
It's
this is
just the
very good.
coolest looking thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoyed this. I thought it was really fun. I had given it previously 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I just kept it as that same score because I really like it. And I think it does a really good job of balancing tone, of a beautiful animation, the music. I do think that this is a genuinely underrated Disney film.
It was a fun rewatch for me too. I
Yeah,
I I enjoyed it and was glad to be reminded of it
yeah.
too.
Well, let us know if you're listening what you think of James and the Giant Peach. I had put it on Twitter and only got a couple responses. A lot of people not so high on it, so that was interesting. But I enjoy it. So I'd be curious to know everybody's thoughts listening, what you think. Put in the comment section or on Twitter. And we have some fun stuff coming up. We're going to be doing our review of Peter Pan next month, and then we have Encanto. And if you have any suggestions for what we could do for obscure animation going forward, just let us know. And Stanford, where can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Stanford Clark. I have a movie podcast and blog, which is at moviespastandpresent.com. And I hope you'll follow me also on Instagram. My handle is at movies PAP, as in past and present.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please take a look at that. And also make sure you follow the Hallmarkies podcast. Lots of fun stuff going on over there. And please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please, if you're listening on iTunes, leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And check out the Patreon group and merch store. We have hashtag Animation Junkie shirts at the merch store, and we would really appreciate you taking a look over there. So thanks so much, and we'll talk next month. Bye, everyone.
Hey, thanks. Bye.